Hello everyone, and welcome to the tutorial on creating slopes in Doom and Hexen format. Alright, so the first thing we'll do is draw a 640 by 640 room. Okay. Now I'm going to make a little little room side off to the side here. And I'll make that 128 by 128. Alright. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw another sector right here. It's going to be 128 by 128. Okay. Now I'll go into sectors mode, select this top sector, and I'm going to raise that by 32. I'll push OK. So that's raised up. Now we're going to come in here and select this top line up here and make sure it's facing down towards this sector here, and we're going to right click it, and we're going to go into the actions, and we're going to go into plane and plane align slope. We'll push OK. And we want to do the floor align. We don't really want to do the ceiling at the moment, so we'll do front. Okay, and we did front because remember I said that was the sector that's focusing in on that front sector that we want to be the slope. So we'll do front and we'll push OK. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and add a 3D or a visual mode start, and we'll come in here into visual mode, and I'm just going to raise this up a little bit. And I'm going to take these two sides here and I'm going to put a texture on them because when it slopes up, it's going to have a side texture. So I'll right click that and I will go into lower, and I'm going to use the Sean 2 texture and push OK and push OK again, and we'll clear out that selection, and we'll go ahead and select this top the floor, and we'll choose its texture as well, and I'm going to do a step texture here. So let me scroll down and just type step. That works. Alright, so I'm going to use the step 2 texture and we'll push OK. And we'll push OK again. So we got that, and we got the silver sides. Now this line here and this line here we don't particularly need to replace because those two are not going to be shown because of the way the slope's going to be. This will be lower in the ground, so you won't see that front side, and when this slopes up, none of this is going to show. So we don't really need to put those two textures in there because they're not needed. So with that, we'll go ahead and hop out of visual mode here. Let me go ahead and add a player start. Okay. And now we are ready for some testing. Okay, so now that we're in game, we can come on over here and you can see that we got a slope going. And we can go up it and down it. It's a pretty basic slope. Okay. So with that, we'll go ahead and head back into the editor. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and set up a complicated ceiling slope. And this will give you an idea of how you can detail using these slopes within Doom and Hexen format outside of doing just the simple floor ceiling slope. So what we're going to do is close this bottom section off by drawing a line across here. And this line here is basically a 129 in length. So we'll close that off. And we'll start by drawing some rooms on the outside here, and we'll make that a 192 by 448. Okay, and we'll do the same thing over here, 192 by 448. Okay, now I'm going to select this sector here in the middle, and I'm going to raise it up to 192. Okay, and we'll zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to draw a 64 by 448 sector in the middle. Okay, so now that that's done, I'm going to go ahead and take the outsides of that sector, right click, and there's both the same sector still, so and we'll go ahead and select the ceiling, and we're going to change this to a sky texture, so F sky 1. Alright, and we'll push OK. Actually, let me go back in and raise that by 16. So alright, now that we have that, we'll go ahead and look in game and see what we got to replace. Alright, so the slope's going to go up this way, so these two textures here we're not going to need. So we'll just copy this texture and paste it here because we'll need it here. Alright, so that's done. And I already have a wood texture on here, so I'm going to go ahead and add a wood texture to the sides of this as well. Alright, so I'll right click that, go to side defs. I'm just going to go wood. Alright, here's some wood here. And we'll just go with wood 1. Okay. And we'll clear that out. Alright, so we have that set up, and this is going to be the slope. So we'll go ahead and jump back into jump out of visual mode there, and we're gonna go ahead and draw a line here and a line here, and this is basically where our slope's gonna start. Alright, so we'll go ahead and let me flip this line, or flip both these lines here. And I'm going to flip these middle lines as well. Now these are the same sector, these two outside sectors here, which could cause a problem with the slope. So what we'll do is go into make sectors mode, select a sector, alright, and now they're separated. So with that, we'll go ahead and come in here, and we're going to select these two, we're going to right click, and instead of selecting the action button, I'm just going to go to 181 because I know that's the action for slopes. And I'm going to go to the ceiling front, and we'll push OK. Alright. Now you may be wondering why we started the slopes here instead of starting them on these back lines. And the reason for that is, let me jump into visual mode. I'm going to actually leave a lip on this part versus doing it from here up. That way it looks a little more realistic. So I'll actually bring that down and to the same level and push it up 16 units, and I'm going to do the same thing here. Alright, and it not having a texture is fine, and it also, this needs to be the sky as well, a sky texture. I'm going to go ahead and select the side texture up from this one, and I'm going to go ahead and replace these two with the wood textures just so it looks a little bit better. Alright, so now that we have that set up, let me jump back into the editor here, and now I can do some quick testing. Okay, so here we are in game, and you can see that I have this complicated sky slope here. So you can already see how I can get some nice details just by using slopes within my levels. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more to this. So let me go ahead and jump back in game, or in the let me go ahead and jump back in the editor. Okay, so the last thing I want to do is actually make some support beams that kind of go from the these smaller rooms up and to the ceiling of the middle of the sky here. So what I'm going to do is draw some sectors here, and they're going to be, let me start up here. It's going to be 256 by 32, and I'm basically leaving a 64 length space right here. And I'm going to do that on all four corners. So I'm leaving that 64 space on the ends of them. Okay, and one more. Alright, now let me go ahead and select these four, and I'm going to lower them to the same size as where the middle ceiling is. Okay, so now let me go ahead and jump into visual mode, and you can see I got them in there. Alright, now I'll go ahead and I'm going to texture these up a little bit. So let me go ahead and select this wood side, and I'll paste that real quick on all of these. Alright, and lastly the textures for the actual ceilings themselves. Alright, now currently you'll see that it'll come down to this right here. Sorry about that, it'll come down to this part of the level. If we do a slope from its current location, it's going to go up this way, but this is still going to be a blank sky, so it's going to look like it almost starts nowhere. What we need is it actually to slope down to this portion. So to do that, I'm going to have to cut out each of these squares and combine them to the sector that's already there. So I'm going to go back into the editor and out of visual mode and do 32 by 32 sectors on the end of each of these supports. Okay, and last one. And now I'm going to go ahead and join them. or merge them rather, using Shift J and Shift J and Shift J and Shift J. Alright. Now let me go ahead and jump into visual mode. Alright. So now we have those set up. And we're going to go ahead and have them slope from here up to the middle part. Now, sometimes you'll have to play with these slopes just to see what happens. Personally, I already know that once I slope this up, because it's starting here, I'm going to need some upper textures for the backside of this. And sometimes this is just playing with slopes and figuring out what textures are already missing from the slope that you're creating. But since I already know it's going to be missing those slopes, I'm going to go ahead and fix those textures now. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and select all four of these, and I know it's going to be the backside upper texture. So right click, side defs, and I'm going to ignore this front side upper. I need the backside upper is what I need. So select that, go to Wood 1, push OK, and push OK again. Alright, let me clear that out. Alright, and now we're ready for some testing. Actually, before we test, I need to go ahead and add the slope in. Sorry about that. So let me go ahead and select these four here. And I'll right click and add 181 for the action, and it's going to be the front ceiling. Okay, and now we can test it. Okay, so here we are in game, and we can see now we have supports there. So with that, you see how you can get some very complicated detail with using slopes within Doom and Hexen format. So with that, I'll head back into the editor. Okay, so with that will pretty much wrap up this lesson. Cause you can do quite a bit of things with slopes depending on what you're really looking for. Really, it's only limited by your imagination. So with that, that's pretty much this lesson. Thank you for watching.